This is the Shed End View podcast. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Shed End View podcast. And as you'll see, there's only two of us here today. There's usually three. Ali's clearly got too big for his boots and is doing boxing podcasts and working for the BBC and doesn't have time to associate with us peasants down in Newry anymore. So she's unavailable at work, so he can't be with us for this episode. But you know I'm the brains in the operation anyway. So as long as I'm here, we've got a guest. That's all that matters. And we're delighted to welcome our first. I'm going to confidently say first, and that'll be more signings coming before the start of next season. But our first signing, he's no stranger to a lot of you. It's Philip Donnelly. He signed last week, so it was great to have you on, Philip.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Gareth, for having me.
So we'll get stuck straight into it. I have a few questions. I have a couple of questions that have been I won't say sent in, but that I've gone and asked people. Do you want to ask Philly a question? So we'll leave those for later.
No bother.
We'll see. But so suppose firstly, I mean, you've been at the club before, but it was a different club. I mean, it was, say, as I was talking to you the day you signed, it was 10 years ago. So it's a long time in life, a long time in football. But I mean, what sort of encouraged you to come back and sign for your game?
To be honest with you, I often, back then, whenever we were, as I say, 10 years ago, we were flying. We were sitting top of the league. I think we were maybe 8 points clear. We seemed to have, you look around the dressing room, the players we had in the dressing room, you kind of had a good feeling about the whole year. And then ever since the club went the way it went bust. And ever since, I kind of always had a feeling, I'd love to go back. Just, I suppose, unfinished business in a sense, because, look, the boys went up a couple of years ago from Newry. They went up from the Championship to the Premiership, and I kind of wanted to be part of that because I felt like that was left behind in the first place whenever I signed back then. But I always had it. It's not just that I just had nothing else to go for or something like that. It was always a goal of mine to go back to Newry, and I suppose Darren could tell you that numerous times. I was at least, I'd say 5 times, maybe more, close to signing. I met him a couple of times. It was just very, very close, but I always wanted to go back. Just, I suppose, unfinished business. So the way I'm looking at it is we want to get up in the Premiership next year, and that's the goal. Like.
Yes, sort of probably interesting what you said. There's sort of unfinished business. So I probably said at the start that it's a different club. And different people. There's a lot of the same people that are still around it, but I mean, I suppose you're saying there's quite a lot of similarities in the two times, because if it just for those maybe that don't know, for maybe those that have only started supporting the club in the intervening period, I mean, we got beaten in the playoff by Distillery to get promoted to the Premiership at the end of that season. Won the Intermediate Cup, won the Mid Ulster Cup. It was a big season. And then obviously what happened the start of the next season. So I mean, I suppose we're in a very similar environment. I mean, I never really thought of it that way. I mean, do you sort of still see that sort of attachment nearly to the club? I don't want to say you were young in your career. You've been at Monaghan United and coming in Newry. Do you get that attachment even you only maybe there for a relatively brief period?
Yeah, I kind of get that. Was me sort of. Although I was at Monaghan, I was at Dungannon too them times, but I sort of wasn't. I was only young. I was only in, and then I went to Newry, and it just completely everything clicked, and I was made feel completely at home straight away when I went in, and I was starting every game. Them other games, I suppose, at Monaghan, I was only 16, 17. I was obviously only be coming in and out, and then once I went to Newry, it didn't matter what age I was. Darren had full faith in me, and he was starting me every game with probably 20, 29, 30-year-olds at the peak of their powers, and I was stuck in the middle of them at 17, 18. So I obviously felt, something's right here, and it just felt right. I did feel at home, to be honest with you. It's probably a cliche, but a lot of people say that, but it did feel at home. And ever since that, to be honest with you, like I didn't probably enjoy me football until I made that move to Newry. I was probably still in the mode do I want to play soccer? Do I really want to give this? I was, because I always a Gaelic to fall back on. And then ever since I went to Newry them times, although the club went bust, I got a really good feel for it. So that kind of gave me a stepping stone, to go forward.
I mean, looking at sort of that intervening period, obviously you had a really successful, really positive spell at Armagh City. I mean, you were involved in that Armagh team that put Glentoran out of the Irish Cup. Is that right?
Yeah. What did we?
Yeah.
I think that went to a replay.
Did it? Right. It was the one where Roy Kyle, I think, got sacked very soon afterwards. I think, and around that time.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
But I mean, you had a successful period there, and then obviously, you ended up going to Warren Point, and you had a couple of spells at Warren Point, and particularly probably the second spell under Stephen McDonnell, Irish Cup semi-final, and I think anybody that remembers that will know that was a chance missed for Warren Point. With the greatest respect to Ballymallard, you're playing them in the championship team in the semi-final, and you'd have been favourites to win. Just I remember talking to you after that game, and it just didn't click that day for whatever reason. But in terms of just sort of your what's been setting aside that obviously the second Newry spell hasn't started yet, so to speak, but setting aside the first one, what's been the sort of the most most pleasing part of your career between Armagh and Warren Point? Where have you felt sort of where you've been at the pen to the best of your ability?
Well, I suppose I taught at Armagh. I was playing to the best of my ability, and then I did go to Warren Point under Stevie, and I probably owe Stevie a lot. I thought the first season there with Stevie, I thought that was probably where I played my best football, and I think Stevie would tell you that himself. Yeah. He had full faith in me. He was just every game you were playing, you arm around the shoulder if the thing wasn't going well. Stevie was. I was probably. I think I was at Lurgan at the time. Went to Lurgan because at the last spell at Warren Point wasn't sort of happy with the way things worked out that time. Yeah. Stevie just phone call straight away. I was his first signing at Warren Point under his spell. So that I think that's probably when I was at the sort of peak of my powers then. But at Armagh, probably played some very good stuff then. But albeit we were probably sitting mid-table sort of championship. We got up to third position, but I often felt that we needed just a couple more players, and we could have went up. I don't know if the club really backed us in a sense to really go up. Yeah. But us as players, we were fully focused. We could do it. But yeah, definitely think under Stevie Mack was probably the most enjoyable. I was playing football.
The one thing I noticed about under Stevie, I mean, you're playing probably slightly further forward than I would have seen you play previously. So I would have maybe seen you play sort of in the not necessarily in the middle of the park, but like an advanced midfield role. But you're playing, a lot of times you're playing very much up top for Warren Point, and it was a success because you were scoring goals, you were making chances for other people, you were getting on the end of things. But the thing I noticed about you was that you seemed to be physically you had filled out, and I don't mean you turned into a man, Philip, but I mean you certainly, I mean, there was no I don't think you ever had any issues with the physical side of the game, but you certainly looked like you boys were bouncing off you, rather than maybe all the way around. Is that something? Yeah. Did the Gaelic sort of the conditioning sort of play a part in that, or was that a set sort of right? I need to bulk up a wee touch here.
Yeah, well, I suppose I always had it in my head to look, when you're small in stature, you need to make up for it in other senses. So the year before Stevie signed me, I actually done my cruciate. So I did. I done that actually in a Gaelic league match. And then that was a year before Stevie signed me. And I suppose when everyone does their cruciate, they always think the worst. I'll never come back to this. Probably that year out was the best year of my life because I could get to a gym. I could just put my whole heart and soul into getting back, but I suppose put a bit of beef on, put a bit of size on. You can't really do that when you're training maybe 3-4 nights a week. Yeah. When you're playing in season. And ever since that. It was just about maintaining it after that. Once I went back, Stevie noticed it straight away. Whenever we went for the photo shoot, he was like, "Whoa, geez, like, what have we got here? Like, I wasn't expecting this." Like,
because you were like this.
Then I was actually worried. Like, I was thinking, will I be fit to carry this about? Like, because it's probably an extra couple of kilos on.
Yeah.
But look, it worked. It worked in my favor. Different wee things. I was playing midfield under Stevie at the start, and he said, "You're physically, very physically fit to go up top here on your own." And he started putting me up top on my own. And it's probably only when you're up there on your own you start to, I suppose, nail defenders on, hold them off, stuff like that. And then you just start to get into it, and everything just clicked then. So, but it was always in me head to, you need to bulk out, because you can't be getting through about when you're 25, 26,
So is it something that, I mean, I know you're good friends with Darren Noonan, having played with him, Armagh, probably, and Lurgan Celtic probably as well. I mean, you'd fancy your chances of pinning and rolling him. I mean, he's built like my finger. You'd pin him easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't need an extra few kilos on to turn him. Like, I'm on as a trailer on the back of him, touring him sometimes.
I will make sure I tag him in all our social media.
Yeah.
So he watches this over in Australia. Good to see you, Darren.
He'll expect nothing less.
Well, here he'd be the first one to dish it out.
Surely.
I mean, obviously, I suppose then, if we're sort of doing this chronologically in terms of your career, obviously that spell with Warren Point, and then you took time out. Your club down, your Gaelic club down Monaghan, Black Hill, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you were obviously successful with them. You won a junior championship with them, and then go on ahead.
We went on, junior champs, and then we went on to win the Ulster as well. So that was
a successful period. Then, I mean, that obviously led to getting selected for the Monaghan senior panel, which, I mean, is no easy feat, because Monaghan have always obviously been one of the top teams in Ulster for a number of years. I mean, that obviously led you to sort of focus more on the GAA as opposed to soccer and take a break. I mean, how did that go? I mean, it's obviously it's difficult to establish yourself into such an established county. But how did that go for you? How did you feel it went? Were you glad you got that opportunity?
Yeah. Oh, look here. I suppose when you're from Monaghan down as well, big Gaelic counties, and once them opportunities come about, you can't really turn your nose up at them, in a sense. Although I was playing soccer most of my career, it's always in your head. I wonder what it's like. I wonder what the setup's like. I wonder, you kind of just be curious. So once I sort of got the call, it kind of was a no-brainer. Like, but look, then again, we get the call down here. We still have to go and do trial matches. It's not as if you get the call, you're on the panel. You have to do trial matches again. I suppose the other boys is called up. So there was a wee bit of work involved to get on it. But I had sort of Stevie Mac told, towards that end of the season, I was trying to manage both.
Yeah.
And it was impossible. It was just maybe there was 1 week I done seven nights. So between 7 nights, 7 days a week, between training and then games. And then I just had a pull Stevie just one Tuesday night, and I just basically said, I can't go on like this. And he was 100% backing me. He didn't want to just see me quit all. At that stage, I was just like, I can't cope with any of this. So I just wanted to take a break from the whole lot. But he just said, look, I had a good chat with him, numerous chats. But yeah, I couldn't turn it down. And I'm glad I did it. I probably put in the effort and stuff. But as you say, it's very hard to get into that setup and such an established county. You're probably coming in. You need to be, I don't know, you'd need to be, I suppose, a Conor McManus or someone there coming into that to get the starting straight away and stuff. It's that much of a step up. But I don't think people realise the commitment level of Gaelic county teams. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's even, I think thinking back to the likes of the down All Ireland winning teams. You had James McCartan was playing. I think probably afterwards went and played for Glenavon. Peter Withnell played for Cliftonville and Newry. But there were probably those days where it was maybe frowned upon, but you could manage the two. Whereas now you say the level of commitment, particularly for both sports, but particularly GAA for an amateur sport, has gone absolutely through the roof. I mean, 7 nights a week, there's no way you can cope with that week in, week out, is it?
No, you couldn't cope with that. Like the commitment level, like there's times where we're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do gym sessions, maybe do training maybe later on that evening, or no one would even realize it. But see, at the time, like you probably think, oh, I'll not do that. That'll not last. Like, but this is religious. This stuff does last. Like, it's not just a months off. But whenever the Gaelic gets back, whenever all the counties get back playing, them things will still happen. Like, so some of them boys to give 10 years of their life with children, wives, whatever they have, it's I don't know, it's crazy how they manage it for so long. Like. But I actually thought the soccer training Tuesday, training Thursday, match Saturday, I was thinking this is the right commitment, but nothing like when you see what these boys be at like.
So if Darren sends you a message and says, right, Philly, I want evidence of you doing a 6 a.m. training session, he's going to get short shrift then.
I'll have to change the AM to PM or something, or vice versa. Like.
But just in your sort of from a personal perspective, I believe you get married sort of towards the end of last year. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, actually got in last February.
So you got it in before any lockdown or any restrictions then?
Yeah. We had a plan too. We had a plan a good while. Obviously, we weren't saying too much because just the two of us sort of going out, and we were getting it done. We were planning to come back and having a big do when we came back.
Yeah,
we were going out. We were heading for South Africa, but I had to go through Dubai airport. A lot of people wearing face masks. And we were a bit
oblivious to
what's going on here. Like, they obviously were a wee bit more up to date than us. We were just going on about our business, and I was all right. Then we went to South Africa, came back. Once we came back, 2 weeks later or whatever it was nearly every person in the airport was wearing these masks. And we were like, we heard a wee bit of it, but we didn't think, we thought it was just, you hear stuff in the news, you didn't think it was going to kick off this much. We were just worried about our party back home. We were like, we have a party organised here in 2 or 3 weeks' time. We came back home, and my ones collected us at the airport, and they were over the moon to see us, and we were so oblivious to this, because we were living the life for maybe 3 weeks. We were out in middle of safaris doing whatever, then got married too, and we had no phone, no internet in some parts. It was class for us. Yeah. Once we came back, it was just bang, everything locked down 1 week after we came back, and ever since that, we're still trying to get this party sorted, and we can't get it sorted.
So if there's ever going to be a way to test out whether you're compatible, it's getting married, coming straight back and going into a sort of year-long lockdown then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm presuming everything's going well so far then.
Everything's going well so far, yeah.
That's good.
So here, if it's going well in the middle of a lockdown, we're flying. Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, looking at obviously you're sort of we're peering into the future here a wee bit, because we don't know obviously when we're going to start for the new season. I mean, I suppose from speaking to Darren, and your general sort of consensus is that we'll start the new season as and when it's meant to start, and sort of you'd be pre-season sort of June, July, and probably be training before that anyway, but proper pre-season friendlies with the idea of starting the league in August. I mean, how sort of unusual, you've obviously signed for Armagh, and you played for Dungannon and Warrenpoint and Lurgan Celtic and then Newry, and so you've moved clubs, but you're obviously only generally moving clubs in the summertime or the January transfer window. And I mean, so you're moving in March, which is just an odd sort of scenario. And then, at least you think, well, you can come straight into training. You're not doing that. is it like, but is it on the flip side that is the positive that a lot of the boys that you're coming in to play with, to train with, and to sort of form that bond with sort of straight away. It shouldn't be too difficult for you.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be difficult at all. Look, even if it was the case where the season was on and I was a free agent and I signed in between 2 weeks of the season starting, it would still be the same for me, because there's any amount of the boys I know. Once I got added into the group chat there a couple of weeks ago, and some of the names, kind of
some of the comments.
Some of the comments, you played with them or played against them. Like I played with Dale Montgomery at Armagh, like, and that seems ages ago, but it's not that long ago. And then obviously you say Darren Noonan, then Engine at Warren Point, Moner at Warren Point, and then I suppose a lot of the other boys, Mark as well at Warren Point. And then I suppose the other boys, you're always playing against them, so you kind of get to know them and stuff. So no, it's strange signing in March, because I suppose you always wait to maybe the middle of the season just to open up your options and stuff. But yeah, I was set on signing for Newry, and that was that. Like.
I mean, looking at one of the questions that we got in, and I'll tell you who it's from. I'll maybe text you and tell you afterwards. Don't worry. It's not a real deep and meaningful one. But I suppose, I mean, I probably touched on earlier the supporters that maybe we've actually probably gained quite a decent support since the club reformed. I suppose when you're winning games at any level, the attendance is always built up. So maybe a lot of people didn't see you the first time you were at the club. So, and I'm sure you developed and you will have watched you. You have developed and changed as a player over that period. If you could describe yourself, if you could pick a player to sort of liken yourself to, and don't be shy, and don't be show your confidence here. If you could, if somebody hadn't seen you before and you could say, well, I try and play like such and such. And if you say Titus Bramble or something, I'm just going to go, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But if there's a player you could sort of liken yourself to, who would it be?
Well, I suppose this probably not coming from me, but I suppose whenever a lot of people would have said Coutinho, whenever, but I'm only going to say that whenever he was at Liverpool, because he's gone to the Dogs now lately, so he has. So. I suppose something like that in that number 10 role, you know what I mean? So, always looking to, I suppose, find gaps in the pass that no one else maybe can see, and then goals on top of that. So that probably got that compliment a good few times now.
In fairness, the person that said it to me, that told me to ask you the question, he's a fellow Liverpool fan. You're a Liverpool man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Another one at the club. I'm United fan, out loud. But the names that were brought up were Luis Garcia, which is obviously a bit of a blast from the a past.
Yeah.
But the other one was David Silva, which I was going, yeah, I can see that. Now, my response was, I guarantee he picks a Liverpool player or somebody associated with Liverpool. And to be fair, Coutinho actually, as somebody who's watched you for a long time, Coutinho and that style of play fits the bill perfectly. Like, but as you say,
I've got that a few times. Yeah, not the Barcelona one.
I mean, you're looking, suppose, towards just what we touched on there. A lot of the players, either haven't played with them, played against them. The club, comfortable settling in period, things like that. I mean, it's an obvious question. It's probably a question that I ask every sort of new signing, so to speak. Darren's obviously he's talked about bringing in quality over quantity in terms of acquisitions before the start of the new season, because I think, just need probably those 2 or 3 wee, extra sort of bits of quality to strengthen the starting 11. I mean, providing obviously, aside from yourself, those players come in. I mean, I suppose that's an obvious question and it'll probably be an obvious answer, but what do you see as, the possibilities for this team? It goes without saying, you've played in the Premiership and you want to be back there, and it's a Premiership level team. But the way things have gone, is it a realistic that should we be positioning ourselves as title favourites maybe next season?
Yeah. No, look, when I was signing, I tried my best to get information off Darren as to who is this quality over quantity. Who are these?
It's you.
Not here. He didn't give me too much more information after that. Like he said there was a few he was talking about. I don't know who he was talking about. He just assured me that there was quality. He was talking to quality over quantity. So, but look, I suppose you're. I don't want to say favourites because you don't know what other teams is at too. So, but look, you definitely want to be up there. If Newry don't have aspirations to sit around, don't want aspirations to go on and win the league, then why are we getting excited about the league starting again if we don't want to go on and win it? We don't want to just go out and just enjoy our football again. Like, enjoying football is all right when you're maybe, suppose, coming through the ranks or whatever. But when you get to this level, you need to be obviously enjoying it, yeah. But you need to be aiming for promotion. You need to be enjoying them moments. Like, so, I can't see nothing short of promotion, and that's just with the team that's there at the minute. There's enough there now to win that at the minute. Nevertheless, if Darren wants to sign an extra 3 or 4 quality players, great. But there's definitely enough there at the minute to win it even.
I mean, just sort of lastly, just a sort of question I was just thinking of, is quite topical at the minute. We touched on it earlier about your time at Warren Point in the Irish Cup and the Irish Cup semi-final. I remember sitting in the sort of what is now the gym at Milltown, but it was sort of where the players would go in afterwards, the TV there. And it was after the quarter-final, so the draw was made.
Yes.
And you were drawn against Ballymallard. And I mean, I was told not to put this anywhere at the time, but there was a cheer. The players jumped about in celebration because it was, without a shadow of a doubt, the best draw you could have got.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it just never clicked that particular day. Given this season, obviously Newry one of the teams that have pulled out of the Irish Cup, and they've always been of that stance and stuck to their principles the whole way through it. Going, we want elite status. It hasn't been granted. We're not just going to roll out and play a game here and go away to Larne, who we're drawn against, and end up maybe potentially in the end of a hiding and all the rest of it. From a personal perspective, and looking at, you're presumably back in the Irish Cup next season, and providing everything, touch wood, but providing everything goes back to plan. You talk about unfinished business earlier. Irish Cup is, from a personal perspective, you'd love to take that next step and play an Irish Cup final, and Newry maybe have a wee bit of sort of a point to prove after what's happened this year. Is that something that you can couple that sort of maybe a run for promotion with a run in the Irish Cup as well?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Look, when we were on that run in the Irish Cup, the buzz around the place. Look, the league's great and all the rest, but something about winning a trophy. I suppose at Warren Point, you're sitting mid-table towards. You're never gonna. Are you ever gonna win the league? You'd want to be a lot of investment to win that. But we were sitting there thinking we genuinely could go on and win this. But maybe we just took our eye off the ball. I don't know what happened. We did get a few. It's probably no excuse. We did get a few wee niggly injuries, and in the 2 weeks before training or something like that, got a few niggly injuries. Different ones was out. I was out. A few other ones was out. But we were that much of a buzz. We were that much of a high. We were like, oh, nothing's going to stop us playing. No injury was going to stop you playing. We probably went into that a wee bit too overconfident. We were sitting in the dressing room before the game, and I remember just looking around. Everyone was quiet, and there wasn't the same buzz about when we were playing maybe bigger teams and stuff in the Irish Cup before. That's a game probably none of us want to ever remember. But in terms of Newry, look, I suppose my experience, Engine as well. I'm sure a few other lads there have all went on runs in the Irish Cup, and there's nothing like it. So I think it gets more fans about. People start to talk about this cup run, and they start maybe jumping on the bandwagon or something, and the fans seem to come out a wee bit more for cup matches than they do. And then if Newry gets drawn again, a Premiership team, everyone loves to see the underdog win. So look, that's a buzz in its own, playing as underdogs too. So that's probably they come to beat us in the end up.
I mean, just the very last. I mean, you touched on there sort of supporters coming out, and you're absolutely right. Irish Cup games, and particularly sort of the fifth round. It's always in January, so a 3 o'clock kickoff by half time. It's pretty much dark. And it just tends on the floodlights. It always tends to a wee bit of extra atmosphere. Certainly from a supporter's perspective, I'm sure it's the same for the players. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the fans, and you'll see a lot of familiar faces, and a lot of the old boys that sort of stand in the same spot at the showgrounds for every game, including Madá, who stands behind the opposition goalkeeper's goal and shouts at him all the time. You'd have plenty of experience.
I've heard him shouting at me a few times actually.
Well, here, you'll be glad to know you'll now be his absolute favourite. If you're wearing your shirt, fine. You've all that's in the past now. But I mean, I suppose if you had a message for supporters, I mean, Newry, I always say, yes, we've a bigger support than maybe some other clubs in the area, and some other Premiership clubs as well. But relatively speaking, it's a relatively small support, but it's a loud support. It's a very vociferous, and it's pretty hardcore, and they stick together. I mean, have you any sort of message for them? I mean, it'll be. Obviously, they just want to get back and watch football. You just want to get back and playing football. Are you looking forward to a time when the two of those sort of meet?
Yeah. Like I actually still want to find out who that supporter is from Newry, that he's baldy and he battering this drum flat out during games.
That's Kevin Ruddle.
I was going off in a game there, or walking past him at half time or something again, and he was giving this drum, he was giving this loads right in front of me, and I was thinking, who is this? Here. But look, when he's on your side, it's all right again, but when he's on your side, so yeah, look, I can't wait to be playing in front of that. Once you're playing in front of fans, you look at the matches now, the English Premiership, no fans there. It's not the same feeling. Newry do play a lot of their games on Friday nights as well, so hopefully there'll be a lot more supporters coming out then too. But yeah, looking forward to playing in front of that. I've played against them, and they're not nice to play again, but they'll definitely be nice to play with. That's for sure.
I think that's a perfect way to end it. You've pretty much summed up the Newry support. I mean, as a Newry supporter myself, I can totally understand why it would be really annoying to be playing against a Newry team with some of the head the balls we have supporting us.
We were actually coming to a game of Moranpint again, Newry, one time. We were coming up just the motorway there, and those people walking from Newry to Moranpint, and bottles of beer, and we were driving past, and sure, us being us, we were out the window giving them loads, and they were giving us loads on the way back, like just pure crack, like, so I'm not short of that.
Yeah, that was the Boxing Day game in the Premiership.
That's right. Yeah.
There was a few of the boys actually walked. There was actually a couple of Warren fans in that as well. They walked from the showgrounds to Milltown for a fundraising thing, and Madá was one of them. He walked. Right. I think he had to start off about 3 hours before everybody else just to make sure he got the match in time. And luckily that day, you probably didn't hear him shouting because he was too wrecked by the time he walked up the road. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there'll be a loud bunch, but as you say, when they're on your side, it's a lot easier than when they're against you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fully really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I have no doubt that when you score your first, second, or third hat trick of the next season, that we'll have you back on again. But we're holding your match balls. if Willie Young,
hopefully so, yeah.
But it's a pleasure having you on, and thanks very much. And we'll speak to you again soon. Looking forward to seeing you play.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks very much, Gareth. Thanks for having me.